Ordo Abcal. So it's currently February 9th, 2025, and the Super Bowl is currently going on. I'm not watching it, but I know it is on, and I know that the Kansas City Chiefs are playing versus the Philadelphia Eagles. And this is going to be something that's very, very prophetic because whoever wins this game is going to really serve as the sign for what's getting ready to happen in this country. And I know you're like, how can you figure that? Why can you say that? I'm telling you, as somebody who is deeply spiritual and knows how to read signs, sigils, omens, a little bit of number work here and there, that this is probably the most important game to any spiritualist because for those of us that believe in preserving humanity and preserving the culture of life, this is just one of those important elements. And we've had so many indicators. Um, I think that me personally, I think the Eagles might win, and I'll tell you why later. But I think that it's we've had a lot of indicators, right? So we've had this snow that happened the last week of January 2025, which I'm a diviner and I know how to read the weather. And so this one was particularly very, very crucial for me because when I was touching the snow, two things came to my mind. The Iron Fist, which made me think of Margaret Thatcher, and then I kept hearing iron fence. And when I thought about the fence, I thought about the border and everything that's happening at the border. And I remember I was watching the movie Fences, and I heard someone in the movie say, a fence is not just to keep something out, but it's to keep something in. And so that made me think about what is really next for the Constitution, for citizenship rights, for all people here. I think that there's going to be a very drastic change. Now, that will happen for sure. It's going to happen regardless. Like these types of changes are going to happen regardless. But at the rate that this current administration is changing things, if the Philadelphia Eagles win, then that is going to let me know that, yeah, there's a far more sinister acceleration that's going to happen than we might actually be thinking of. Now, there's a lot of people, right? Truthers, conspiracy theorists who have been saying that this government and our nation was going to collapse. They've been saying it for like 20, 30 years. And, the zenith of that the pinnacle moment of that highlighting moment probably was between 2010 and 2012, where a lot of us had these awakenings that a lot of people are going to start to have this year. And so, you know, whether or not you think that it's just one particular person, like President Trump is one person. He's one person. This is a whole plan. You don't build a government every 4 years. You build it, 50, 100 years in advance. And so blaming one particular party or one particular person is just another form of division. It's another form of divide and conquer. But because we do have the law of the land, the Eagles, and the law of the natural law of God and the law of for and of the people, which would serve as the chiefs, right? The Indians, or not just the Indians, native people, indigenous people to a land, we have a lot at stake. And so I for that reason I do think the Eagles are going to win. And just, there've been a lot of different signs, sigils, indicators. We have had Beyonce riding on the white horse. We've had the um attack in New Orleans on January 1st, which really I feel like opened up a portal for the Super Bowl. We've had the plane crash. Spirit said, "Don't forget the Georgia Guidestones. Don't forget the switching of the sarcophaguses." Like 4 years ago. We have the spirits of Lake Lanier. We've had the eclipses that have occurred. We've had the ceremonies when Queen Elizabeth died. We've had these sea creatures that are now starting to rise. There are so, in the past two Olympics, have all been signs, symbols, and sigils that there is a change coming to this nation, right? And so, being that we are in the year of the snake, the year of transformation, being that 2025 equals and totals the number nine, which for those of us that have spiritual practices, understanding the winds of change and what that transformation means, this is going to be a very strong year. And then you have President Trump, who was speaking in double speak at the inauguration. It seemed like he was speaking to the citizens, but he wasn't talking to us. He was not talking to us. He was talking about structure and the restoration of order, um, to people that are above your pay grade, that are outside of your bloodline, but control everything that your bloodline does. You know, it was giving Knights of Templar, it was giving Golden Dawn, it was giving, you know, hoods and candles and Jesuit choirs and all the things. So that's what we are. That's what's at stake right now. We are in a spiritual warfare, and you need to know what to look for. So, demon time, back in blood. Demon time usually means or references someone that is looking to satisfy their sexual proclivities by any means necessary, right? And even though that may be the case, I have first heard of that in reference to what is called drill culture, which is a, gang affiliated term from the south side of Chicago, right? And so when I hear demon time, I immediately think of summoning demons because, and I'm not from Chicago, obviously, but I've watched what happens when people are in drill time, like when they're drilling. And to me, it looks like there's a whole um possession that's happening, to be honest with you. And these young people are possessed by some sort of bloodthirsty energy by which they go out and kill or unalive their enemies. And they claim the body, or they claim the life or the life force of their victims by projecting it in some sort of dance or in some sort of song, that they are making a chant out of, right? And chanting and dancing again has to do with indigenous practices of not only summoning spirits but awakening spirits to do work with you and for you, to go into contract with you in a deed. So when I hear demon time, that's what I'm thinking of. I'm thinking of a contract with a spirit, right? And then we have Back in Blood, which there's a couple of songs out there with that title. And when I hear that phrase, I think of revenge at the exchange of life. So this all lets me know that what we are, this spiritual warfare, is about the culture of blood. This country is founded on enslavement through force and through manipulation. And so those that are not melanated, you probably really wouldn't understand the experience and the trauma that goes through one's bloodline of having the force of your divine nature being stripped away from you, and then having your person stripped away, like all the things that you can imagine that will happen in the process of the breaking of a man, the breaking of a woman, the breaking of a soul. This is what has happened at the culture of blood, right? But what this spiritual warfare, this particular stage that we are in humanity, and this is again why the Super Bowl is so important, is because there were contracts made with spirits, with deities, with energies that long predate your knowledge. And the ancestors of those that we would call the colonizers, they had made deals and agreements with spirits by way of blood. The power that, you know, those that are in power have, it didn't just come through rape, it didn't just come through murder, it didn't just come through enslavement. It came at the exchange of raising up a spirit, raising up a demon, conversing with this spirit and asking what the exchange should be for power. And that spirit, or those legions of spirits, those pantheons of spirits, agreed that in order for there to be both liberation and enslavement, a transfer of power from one certain sect of people, excuse me, one sect of people, and the generations that would follow them would be that of blood. And that's a conversation that a lot of us don't have because we try to rationalize a lot of things that happen. But we are in a spiritual war where demons have to be fed. They have to be fed blood. Think Little Shop of Horrors. Just feed me. You know what I mean? Like, so there are things that a lot of us are blood bought into because we are blood bound. We can't break it. Curses that have elemental magic to them, they cannot be broken simply by prayer. They have to be identified and acknowledged by the spirit that they either are affiliated with, the spirit that cast it, or the person that became the conduit, that became the working vessel for these spirits. And so when you think about it, it's all about blood. It doesn't matter if it's a race war, it doesn't matter if it's a war on humanity. Deities must be fed. Okay, so what we are currently experiencing in this nation, especially on land that was stolen, on land that has been manipulated, on land that we do not protect, on land we do not pray to, we do not give offerings to, on land that has not been atoned for. And it doesn't matter if, you know, it's the Mexicans, the Afro indigenous people who were reclassified, right? And then had other people come over here um, and exchanged titles and deeds for their names and their bloodlines in order to move another sect of people out to reclassify and discombobulate them, which would be African Americans. Um, this whole situation is primal, is primordial, and is prehistoric. Honestly, this really goes beyond basic conversation. And so when you're looking at the powers that be, I think that it's very important to know that the warfare is not just on the Constitution. The warfare is not just on DEI. It's not on white and black and man versus woman. This is truly something that is very, very spiritual. Okay, we are talking about ancient practices of many different forms of magic, alchemy, meditation, transmutation, body switching. This goes beyond just being able to pray this away. And I say that because what we're going to find is that there are going to be a lot of people running to religion. I mean, petrified of what's happening. And I don't blame you because, again, this is something that we haven't experienced in mass like what's getting ready to occur. And so a lot of people are going to do a few things. They're going to run to substances, they're going to run to drugs, they're going to run to alcohol, they're going to run to other physical pleasures in order to escape the pain and to numb themselves as a coping mechanism. But what people are really going to do, especially because the Bible has been manipulated, is run straight to religion and say that I must hide in the church because this is what God said would happen in the last days. So this is what I must do. I must be scared and I must go pray. I'm telling you right now, for the people that are like me, you already know that is not the solution. Okay? When it comes to blood warfare, when it comes to witchcraft, And I'm telling you this as somebody who has survived witchcraft to a certain degree, that you have to be willing to go to war for this. Okay? So if somebody's waging blood on you, you're going to have to fight back. So we have the Kansas Chiefs, right, who represent natural law, the law of God, the law of nature, the indigenous people, people of the land, people of the earth, children of the earth. And that under that umbrella would be the people and their rights, birth, born, and civil rights, right? Their natural law rights, their beliefs and their gods and their practices and their freedoms of expression. Not just political expression, but everything we do is political, right? But the expression to just be who you are and who you want to be without there being any sort of, infraction or superimposed, law that says you can't do that, you can't be that. Why can't I just be what God made me, whatever that is? And then we have the Eagles, who represent the law of the land, and that would go with the Constitution and a monitored state of surveillance. Going back again to the Iron Fist, Iron Gates, which would symbolize international borders. We have accelerated um, and rapid change and a one world system of practices. Okay. And then what also came to me was the movie RoboCop. Now, if you've never seen that movie, that is what I believe is getting ready to happen next. I haven't seen I Am Robot, but I did see RoboCop, and that was pretty scary to me. It came out like I was already like one or two or something like that. But so that's what this symbolizes. So whoever wins is going to be the monopolized state. Now, the reason why I don't think the Chiefs are going to win is because, again, the Chiefs represent the people. The Chiefs represent freedom. The Chiefs represent indigenous practices and getting back to practices. Now, that would require people to get back to their roots and how they identify with their spiritual practices, in order for there to be a surge in power. However, you know, African American, I don't like to say black people, but black people don't like to get down to their roots for the most part. And I'm saying that as a generalization. But we really have to get back to our spiritual practices in order to elevate as a culture and to lead people, because I do believe that black culture has always been the leading force of this country, no matter if we've been enslaved, no matter if we've been sharecropping, no matter if there has been Jim Crow. We always find a way to, re-identify and re-emerge into society, and we always find a way to be the forefront of the culture. And then the culture that we create gets stolen from us, but we still are the ones that engineer, uh, you know, the front facing movement forward, right? And so I think that it's important for us to get back to our culture, but a lot of people are afraid or they think it's demonic. I would say that this is why, hoodoo and voodoo have been so demonized in the past year and a half, because the only way that the people can really, surge a successful movement, is what I'll say, is when they are spiritually charged. And so a lot of us are tired of the sweet by and by, and it's like, I want some other stuff. I want to talk to my ancestors. I want to talk to my people. And so that would definitely be the way to do it, because again, who else would be better to assist you in transitioning through a brutal and hostile period in life than those that have already been there? So those are the practices that we would have to get to. But if the Eagles win, I do want you to know that that symbolizes that, yeah, the government is about to rock your shit. excuse my language. I'm really frustrated, but if the Eagles win, I'm really seeing the law of the land in a hostile takeover. And I'm seeing RoboCop. And if you saw my video, American Gods, I told you that the man that I call Mr. World, who is currently a part of this administration, has a plan to really corner the matrix itself and probably try to corner God. So when I tell you that this is a spiritual warfare that is intermingled in every facet of our lives, it's not only in psychological warfare and redlining and all these other factions, it's also in our technology. It's in how black women get treated in the hospital. Unfortunately, either way, the people are going to have to come together, but also there must be blood. There something's going to happen, but there's going to have to be a retaliation to something that happens. And if you don't think that there's a plan for that already, I'm letting you know that there's a plan for that. I think that a lot of times we become so comfortable in this country that we think that, you know, I don't know if warfare or if all of that is a part of a past for us that no longer exists, that we think that ended on the Edmund Pettus Bridge, that ended with Dr. King. No, no. We're going to see whistleblowers like we've never seen before. We're going to see people stand up for what is right. People are tired. Humanity is tired. The soul of humanity is tired. The soul of the earth is tired of the injustices being done to people. It doesn't matter what your background, it doesn't matter where you're from, what your beliefs are. When you are done wrong and you are traumatized by that wrongdoing and you are placed in an oppressive state because of that, that creates a disassociation. Honestly, not even a disassociation, but it begins to break the spirit. And so people are tired of that. People do no longer want to see humanity separated. And honestly, I think that is the highest calling of God right now. So you're going to see people have an exchange of freedom for life. You know what I mean? I'm telling you this out of love, that there are going to be some uncomfortable times. There's no cute way to say it, right? And you're going to see that it's going to get ugly because, again, there were agreements made to spirits that you don't have access to, spirits that you don't know how to raise, call up, you don't have passwords for it. This is really bigger than you, and you are a pawn, but also because you were born for now, in now, and right now, you are a greater power of God in the earth. You know what I mean? And it takes a certain type of person that has been broken all of their lives and made the decision to rebuild themselves to say, I'm going to do something that's super phenomenal. And I think that you are called to do that. Now, I'm not saying you're going to die. I'm not saying you're on the front, lines for war. I'm not saying that. But I am saying that there is going to be an uprising that is going to call upon you to utilize your voice, a voice that took a lifetime to build through the darkness that you had to overcome and rise through. And so when that moment comes, don't be afraid. Remember what built you and utilize your voice. What's next? This is what I will tell you. I will first tell you that women need to take self-defense classes. For sure, for sure. I've been having multiple dreams and visions of physical abuse on the streets here in America. Being done to women and no laws protecting them, nobody caring for them, just like in other countries when other people don't care about them. And I primarily saw, I believe it was Iran in my vision, but there was like two cultures where Islam is prominent, and I saw women of course, being sexually violated, and more attacks, more honor killings. And so that kind of really got to me because I saw physical attacks, I saw acid attacks in my dreams here in America. And so I think that it's very important for women to not only take self defense classes, but begin to build communities of protection. Again, it doesn't look like it right now, what I'm saying, but there's a lot of things that didn't look like it was possible just 20 days ago, right? The next thing, what's going to be important is community and tribe. That will not only be your safety net, but it will be your self care, your form of self care. Get with people that identify with you. Don't just go where you're tolerated, go where you're celebrated, comforted, and included in conversations, and your gifts and talents are highlighted and you can be put to work. Dreams are going to be the sacred space. I would encourage you not to sleep with your phone near you unless it's necessary. Like if you have children that are outside the home, you have elderly parents, you know, personally, because I don't want the technology to interfere, I don't want the frequency to interfere with your messaging or the message downloads that spirit would be giving you. I would tell you to not even have technology near you when you're asleep. Don't have it near your bed. Like I don't even sleep with the radio on anymore because your dreams are going to be everything. I have my journal that I encourage you frequently. It's Divine Downloads. You can buy that at the link below. And it is a journal to encourage the conversation and the dialogue between you and spirit. I'm telling you, that's going to be the most sacred thing that you have as an asset. I would say that 30 minutes at least of daily cardio to build some endurance, just in case there is some sort of accident or a power grid goes out or something and you need to run. You won't be able to run if you're not building any endurance. And yes, I know I am a chubby lover, but trust me, sis has been getting out there doing my little 45 minutes every morning. You also, I want to encourage you to learn to barter or create a bartering system in your community, where you live, or with the community, the tribe members that you're going to build. Gardening would be awesome to learn. Again, some of you have natural talents, and I said all this in the very first video that I made, and I'll link that below as well. I don't remember what it was called. Wheel of Fortune is the name of the video. But, some of you have some really amazing skill sets that you utilize your hands with, and you think it's just a pastime. But no, like your auntie, your great grandma taught you these things because spirit told them to, because there would be a time when it would be necessary again. Um, Always be vigilant and be vocal. Do not let anything stop you from speaking up for yourself and speaking for what's right as this political climate continues to change. The objective of fear is that it is a spiritual and psychological tool, an act of warfare, a strategic act of warfare to imprison you and to put you in a form of paralysis that shuts you down all the way up from your sacral and root chakras, from your place of ingenuity, creativity, and spirituality, all the way up to your voice, and that it would dim your power because of psychological warfare. Do not let anything stop you. Do not let fear stop you. Whatever your fear is, do not let other people or systems stop you from utilizing your voice. Your voice is all that you have. It is the identifying principle of who you are. Keep your voice. I will tell you to trust your intuition above all else. As you continue to build your intuition, it is there that you can begin to formulate your relationship with God, with the creator, with the divine, with the spirit realm. And then life will lead you down if it wants you to go through a religious path. I'm not going to tell you what religion that you need to go through or to, or to run, but I'm going to tell you to go inward. And how do you do that? Meditation is a great way to build your intuition. If you feel your gut telling you, leave this person alone, or don't do this, or pick this up, or take this road to wherever you usually go, instead of going that way, you're like, oh, I narrowly missed this accident. Da, da, da. Okay, that's how you build your intuition. You build your intuition also by sun gazing. You build your intuition by utilizing your voice. You build your intuition by testing how well you will allow your auric field to pick up things. So sometimes I'll play a game with somebody that I trust, and I'll be like, hey, hide this for me, let me see if I can energetically pick it up. That's a way to build my intuition. I want to see if my inner voice can guide me. I want to see if my body can pick up, the traces of that energy, because that is a great way to trust myself. And then when you do that, you can lastly follow spirit and spirit alone. Y'all, I'm telling you right now, this is really big in my heart. Religion is going to be used in such a very manipulative way, even more manipulative than it is now, because people are going to be scared and they are going to want the coverage and the protection of God and those that are seemingly anointed or well studied in places of authority in their religions to protect them. And I'm telling you now that the powers that be are also going to use that as a form to manipulate you further. Nothing can save you. No one can save you but yourself. Spiritual warfare is all about you knowing who you are because of whose you are, what you overcame, and saying to the darkness, you will not have authority over me. You will not have authority over here. And we are not afraid of you. So, whether the spiritual warfare is coming from a people, a person, a spirit, a pantheon, an administration, you have to build the fortitude within yourself, whether it is the law of the land or it's the representation of the law of God, to know who you are by all means necessary. And you never ever bow to anything but God. I love you, and I will see you next time. Okay. Can you see right there? It is 8:58 p.m. Sunday, February 9th, 2025.